Hi, it's Bram here from Whitianga Comics and Collectables, and we're doing our podcast number 3 today. And with me I've got Jaden.
How's it going?
I've got Jared.
Kia ora.
And myself. And today we're going to be talking Spider-Man, Symbiotes, we're talking Venom, and all his offspring and his offspring's offspring. Okay, and maybe even, we get off target quite a bit, so, you know, we'll be talking about parts of comic book collecting and stuff as well. It's not all just Spider-Man, which is still good. Righto. So, Jaden first, how did you get into collecting? Or like, not just how did you get into it, or did someone introduce you to it, you know what I mean?
I just remember growing up and like all my mates, they came from, you know, sort of well-off families where they were the collectors. So I remember going around to my friends' houses and, you know, reading early issues of Uncanny X-Men and things like that. Something that the household that I lived in, we couldn't afford to, you know, like buy comic books all the time. But I just remember picking up comic books around at my mate's house and just having a look at them. And I was mainly attracted to the art, you know, which was amazing. Looking at, you know, Wolverine and Bishop and Cable and all those sort of characters, looking at those guys. And I collected X-Men cards, you know, so things like that. I'd collect the cards. That's something that I was able to get. But yeah, that's just sort of how I got into it. And it wasn't really until I was about 30 I got given my first comic book, which was Thor 450, which I gave to you.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, nice.
So that was the first comic book that I ever got brought, and that was from my brother-in-law for my 30th birthday. And then ever since then, it's just been I'd grab a comic book when I seen it cheap, just so I could add to the collection, and I'd display them on my cabinet and stuff like that.
Yeah, nice.
And then Donny Cates released his run of Absolute Carnage, and ever since then I've been into actively purchasing and hunting comic books.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm aware. Yeah, I'm aware. And you, Jared, how did you get started?
I've always been a collector of certain things. I think I started out first with NBA basketball cards when I was like 9 years old. Big into basketball cards. Yeah. From there, I pretty much started going hats, shoes, Jordans. But I've always had that thing with, you know, the 90s Spider-Man TV show, the X-Men TV show, just the media. And then it wasn't until the Avengers movie started coming out. So Iron Man first came out, and I had a flashback to reading this Iron Man comic that was in my dad's box. He wasn't a big comic book guy. He had a lot of Tintin, Asterix and Obelix, but there was this Iron Man issue in there where the superhero was drinking, and I was just like,
I know this. I know what you're talking about.
This isn't your average sort of what I'm used to seeing on a TV show for kids on a Saturday morning. This guy was going through some troubles, and it wasn't about fighting a villain or anything like that. Now I'm older, I can realise that the villain was inside himself due to his alcoholicism. Yeah. But at the time, I thought this isn't really exciting. But that's what I got when I saw that trailer for Iron Man.
Yeah.
And then overseeing Captain America, who's obviously everybody knows. Thor came out, and from then I just knew they're going to make an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
And then the Avengers movie came out, and then the cutscene of the Avengers had Thanos. And when he said, you know, at the end of the movie, he sort of made a stake, and you knew that Thanos was coming. So from there, it was like, they're playing a bigger game here. I need to follow this through and see where it goes. It's all connected, sort of thing. So from there, I was like, I got to get back into my comics, man. I've had, you know, bits and pieces here and there, and I know a lot about comics, but that made me go, I got to get back into it. I have to. Yeah. I love them.
Once your interest is caught, right? Once your interest is caught, especially when you see a movie, right? And you may not have been collecting actively, like in, say, your 20s or even to your early 30s or even later, right? When you see a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy, for me, even, how good do those movies tie in though to even the Infinity War?
Yeah, man.
They you see one stone, and you're like, you don't pay attention. You're like, like in Guardians of the Galaxy, I can't remember the time stone, but Ronan the Accuser puts it in his hammer, right?
Power Stone.
Yeah, the Power Stone, right? So he puts this in, you're like, to me, it's cool, but there's no relevance at this stage.
Yeah.
Then you see another one. You see Thor Ragnarok or something.
Yeah,
And then-
Thor.
and then
what's that cube called?
Yeah,
Cosmic Cube.
the Tesseract.
The Tesseract, you
right?
know, and then you don't realise
Yeah.
the part it's going to play in Infinity Wars
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
find out it's actually the
It's the Mind Stone.
the Mind- no.
Well, he puts it in his, and Loki
It's
has
in
it in his
visions.
staff, right?
Yeah.
He puts it in his staff.
Yep.
So, these all things all play, and like you say with your collecting, it's interesting because I had comics as a kid, but I never collected. I never went, I want to complete something as a kid. I just got the comics when I can afford it, and so 2000 AD. I have talked about this 2000 AD and Wizard and Chips and Oink, which is Vaughn's favourite. I'd collect those, but I had a resurgence in the 90s when all those dudes came out, and Jade and I just talked about, and even Jared talked about this before, right? All those comics came out in the 90s, produced by the guys who started Image, and they had made their name with Marvel, made their name with DC. I collected all these, and I carried all these comics around with me because I used to collect with my mate Vaughn. We'd go Pop Culture. Is it High Street, Vaughn, or Lawn Street? On High Street. I think it's Pop Culture on High Street. So we'd go there, and we would go through the dollar bin. Of course, there's heaps of Image because it's dollar bin, right?
Yeah.
There's heaps of Image. There's Wildcats.
Indies.
There's Spawn. There's Bad Rock. There's all these things. And you go through, oh, yeah, that's sweet. That's a good read. And say you got $10. You know, you're in your early 20s. You ain't got much cash flowing. So you're like, yeah, I'll just get that. It's 10. You do that, and I carry around these 2 pie boxes with me. And even, dude, when I move flat, I'd carry them with me. And then even
4 pie boxes.
oh no, just I wish they had pies. You'd like I've had a few, but and then I joined the army. I even took them to the army with me. These 2 pie boxes, and people were just looking at me like, what is bringing this 2
Private,
pie boxes?
what's in those pie boxes?
Oh man, I used to get shit for it a little bit, but I was like, it was full of comics, and I was like, when I was bored, I could just read them, you know.
Yeah.
And
What are you going to do with those comics? Whatever you tell me.
yeah. So like, you know, in Warrior there's not much in Warrior. There's the Oasis and a video store, but I had comics, so I'd read those, and I didn't collect actively from then. Obviously, I didn't have the money for it, but and then I just held on to them for ages.
Yeah.
And same as you guys, right? And you don't do anything for ages, and all of a sudden you see a few movies, and you're like, actually, I can afford to get a comic.
Yeah.
So you go to a comic shop, and they're pretty rare now in New Zealand. But yeah, I mean, the special part about it is you see these movies, Avengers, everything else, and it just like, I want to know more about that dude. He's interesting, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I collect Thor, and you guys collect other things, but it's like, you see that character, I want to know more, I need to read, and the more you read about it, the more you want to dig, you want to just really dig and know what's
And
going on with it.
more or less, all their mythologies are tied together.
Yeah.
You know?
And one big web, it's all
Yep.
part of it, it all interlocks.
Yep.
Someone's put so much effort into the forethought and making them work too.
You know, and
Or retconning.
They make
Yeah.
these characters that they bring out, you know, relatable, you know, to a lot of different people in a lot of different circumstances.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something that's the reason why I fell in love with Venom. You know what I mean? Like just looking at his backstory and then just how he goes about life, and you know how he's always got this moral compass. You know, and
Yeah.
he might have done some bad things.
Now
in
he
his life.
does.
Well, now he does. But you know,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
done
I mean-
some bad things, but he's always had a conscience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And things like that. And inside, he's always actually been a really good guy. And
Yeah.
you know, like not going into my upbringing, but I sort of felt the same way. You know, and then when I started getting into Venom, and what first attracted me is just Venom himself. You know, like he's an awesome looking character, and then learned more and more about him, and it just keep drawing me in, and ever since then it's just, yeah, like they make a lot of guys like you said, Iron Man, you know, alcoholism and things like that, you know, like trying to be a hero, but you know, suffering from depression and alcoholism and things like that, you know, like that's things that we can relate to, you know, inside these characters, which draws us to these characters and creates, you know, like fan favourites. So.
Well, it makes it a platform that's real world, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
stuff that can affect anybody's family.
Yeah.
You see it, and then you may not necessarily relate to it, but you understand it.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah.
So let's focus back on that. So your main collecting now, I mean, I know what it is, but some of these people don't, right? So what do you mainly collect? What are you focusing now?
Anything Venom related.
Yep.
So Venom, Symbiotes, Carnage. You know, Venom and Carnage are my favourite. Obviously, Venom came from Amazing Spider-Man, so I collect Amazing Spider-Man, Venom, and Carnage. Are pretty much my 3 titles that I collect.
So you run from 252.
252.
Yeah.
I'm
To
252.
yeah. To what number? To 4. You're at 4 something now, right?
So I'm at 440.
ASM.
I'm at 441 on my ASM run,
yeah.
which puts me at the end
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Volume 1. But I'm actually actively doing Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5, which we're getting close to 850. You know, so
hold on. So 441. Is there many more appearances actually of Venom like in ASM after like? I mean, I don't know. So after 441, is there more appearances of Venom? I don't know because it's 700 now.
He pops in and out, but
he's a recurring like because all of his characters.
He does pop in and out. Like they pretty much tie it in, like you would see in the current Donny Cates Venom run. You know what I mean? Like Spider-Man comes into Spider-Man comes into the Absolute Carnage series. You know, so they do like these days. They're more so working together than working against each other.
Yeah.
But after the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1 of Venom, that's sort of when they went into because Venom didn't stay with Eddie Brock, and it was Eddie Brock that had that thing against Peter Parker, against Spider-Man. And since the end of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, the symbiote actually went on to have a whole bunch of other hosts, and it's only just recently, I think it was just before Donny Cates' run, so it was Donny Cates' run's Volume 4, so it was Venom Volume 3, that I think it was 165, no, it was Venom Number 6. Volume 3, Number 6, where he was reintroduced with Eddie Brock, and then that's where Eddie Brock took the symbiote over again, because Marvel played a game where they were like, right, let's try give Venom another host, and let's see who the fans, appreciate more. So then there was this whole Flash Thompson Venom sort of a thing like that, and they thought that was going to take off, and that was going to hold in Flash Thompson.
He was Agent Venom.
He was Agent Venom. So which was really cool, but Marvel realised the fan favourite is Eddie Brock. You know what I mean?
We even had Matt Gargan, the original Scorpion.
Yeah, the Scorpion. Matt Gargan was the second person, other than really the third, because Spider-Man held him first. But when Venom left Eddie Brock, Matt Gargan was the next person that he went on to. Which he ended up teaming up with. Norman Osborn, and then creating, the
Dark Avengers.
Yeah, the Dark Avengers and all that sort of thing like that. So there was a whole bunch of other hosts of the symbiote, and then it was in Venom Volume 3 that they reintroduced him, Number 6, and then at 150 they went back to the Venom Legacy run, and then that went to Venom Volume 3 went to 165, and then Donny Cates came back in at 166, which is where we sit today.
Okay, so that's Jaden. He's Venom, but he's also ASM, right? Because he got appearances of Venom, right? So and so, man, Jared here, you are ASM, but Symbiote Suit Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right.
Miles Morales too.
So you started. Where are you starting though? You starting at 200.
I started 252.
252 as well.
252 to 300. He goes from 300 to 441.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so why did you go Symbiote Suit? I mean, it is interesting. Don't get me wrong. I understand that, but you wanted. That was a good kicking off point for you, obviously, 252.
Yeah. Well, I love obviously the Silver Age Spidey. I love that original art. I love, it is a little campy and quirky and all that, but that's just history. That's beautiful to see.
But he's always lighthearted, right? Spider-Man's always pretty lighthearted.
Yeah.
Through
quirky.
Most of comic history.
And that's I think what drew me to the darker suit Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's two versions of it. There is the Symbiote Suit, where we did see him go down that rabbit hole and get possessed by the black suit and all the symbiote venom, and started to turn him to a little bit of a nastier character.
He sort of became more like a vigilante than an actual superhero.
Yeah, started doing not so Spider-Man-esque stuff. The quirky quips and whatnot stopped. He was there on a mission. You just used to Spider-Man doing, saying little funny.
Well, he does corny stuff, right? But he also, it's only in the process of doing admirable things. He's saving people.
Absolutely.
He's stopping crime and stuff like this.
And the reason why he does it is because it's not that he is relaxed. He obviously knows that he's in danger, but he uses it to mess with the enemy's mind, to make them feel like they're no match.
Yeah. So with just a small thing, because I'm still learning about it, but Venom's doing this obviously because all the other planets that were taken over by these symbiotes, they were taken over by that hive of symbiotes, right? They took all those planets.
Planet Clintar.
So Clintar is that cage that holds Null, that sort of a platform.
Clintar is a giant symbiote, pretty much.
Okay, so
symbiotes.
It's the symbiote. So Null was put in a cage, and Planet Clintar is the whole symbiote population, and wrapping that cage to stop Null from escaping.
Because in the origin that I read, that I was reading was once we'll give. Actually, I won't say it because we're gonna read the rest of it. But so what I'm saying is, Venom goes to Earth. No one other symbiotes here. He's the only one at this stage. So that's why he's possibly doing what he's doing. Maybe that's what the writer thought. Well, he can do whatever he likes now because he might have been a big deal when he's with the rest of the symbiotes.
Exactly.
Now he's by himself.
Well, that's right. Like Planet of the Symbiotes, you know, when that issue that was released, you know, Planet of the Symbiotes, where it was everyone back in those issues, you know, so it was introduced that, whoa, you know, like this is the symbiote's homeworld, and that's what everyone thought until Donny Cates written that actually it's not a planet. You know, that's the prison. That's a prison of Null. So it's not actually a planet. You know, like
which is to me is an awesome concept. It really blew my mind when I read it today.
Donny Cates just blows your mind.
Anything that man, I love his writing.
But it's realistic writing because it's like. And see, hey, it's not a planet, it's actually a prison.
That's the difference between Donny Cates writing and a lot of other writers writing. You know, like there's a lot of other writers out there that actually just write storylines and write comics, whereas they don't actually read comics. Whereas you can tell Donny Cates is a comic reader. He's read everything.
He's absorbed stuff.
He's absorbed everything through his childhood all the way up until now. Donny Cates has read everything, and Donny Cates writing today, he's incorporating everything that he's read throughout all these other titles and these other runs into his Venom run, into his Thor run, into his Absolute Carnage run.
And being like, wouldn't that be cool if
exactly, which makes it really exciting to read.
So it also makes you think he's been given a bit of free license, right?
Well, I think he's probably the only writer at Marvel with free run.
It's not easy to do either.
It's not free run. It's Donny Cates when he pitched his Venom run to Marvel, he had everything set out. So Donny Cates has never ever deviated from what he was going to write and what he was going to do with the Venom run. It's stuck the same all the way through to King in Black, and probably after that as well. You know what I mean? So when Donny Cates went to Marvel and said, hey, I want to do the Venom run, this is my plan for it, it was from back in 2018 all the way through to now and beyond. And it's been there the whole way. And then he approached Ryan Stegman on the art and said, look, this is my plan. And then Ryan Stegman was like, bang, I'm in there.
It's never got slack.
Never.
You know how you get those filler issues and stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna continue to pick this up. There's been a couple of slow issues. I don't really know where he's going. Do they deserve my $10 a week on this? And then, but to come in like he does on any title, it just come in and be like, third, like, yep, I'm laying the groundwork down. We're just cruising for these first couple of issues. On the third one, bang, life altering, still sort of stuff happens, and it's like, my lord, I have to read all of this now. And why haven't I read everything else that he's written?
And everything he's written ties into each other, you know what I mean? Like his Guardians of the Galaxy run ties into his Venom run, you know, when you know, like all of that. His Thor run ties into the Venom run, you know.
Cosmic Ghost run.
His just everything, you know, like it ties in and it brings the whole Marvel universe together. You know, rather than just focusing on that's that storyline, that's that storyline, and that's that storyline.
Under a Donny Cates blanket.
And they've got nothing in common, you know what I mean? Where he's bringing it all together, which is it's amazing. It's amazing writing. It's an amazing read, and
the way I see him going at the moment is if you look over at like DC, you see like Jeff Johns. He was a writer, creator, and now he's like head of department because he knows down to every T all of those characters' mythology. He's written for most of them. You know, he's been a big part of everything. I can sort of see that in the future. That's where that guy's going.
You kind of need to have that. So you need to have someone directing things. You need to have, even if it's just a story writer directing it and telling the executives that this is what we need to do. Right? We need to have structure. You don't do it, you get. I don't want to be horrible, but you get a sort of New 52 thing going on where people, the stories aren't loved, but people collect because they collect, right? And they read because they read. And they, I mean, you always get a lull on anything with business, right? And that's sometimes what it is. But it's good that someone kind of, maybe he's not, but it's good to think that he's directing things and making it, keeping it fresh and new, you know, because it's easy to get stagnant. You'd imagine people writing Spider-Man and say, you've done, so it started in the 60s, you're doing Silver Age, everything's sweet, you do 70s, and then it's like, okay, these guys are pretty regular writers and artists on this, and then, well, everyone's buying Spider-Man, we can just not cruise, but we don't have to come up with too much.
We don't have to push
Yeah,
it.
we just do.
Well, that's right. They have the highs and then they have lows,
Yeah.
and then it sort of plateaus out, and then next minute they're looking for, right, what are we going to do? We need to bring the reader's attention back in, and then they have a little big spot. Donny Cates has just gone up and up and up and up. And just when you think, whoa, first appearance of Noel, bang, it can't get any better than this, and then it's like, whoa, Eddie Brock has a son, and then whoa, you know, like now we're into
Virus,
Codex, you know, and all that sort of stuff, and whoa, you know, like I want to bring the what is it, the 616 or 316 universe.
Yeah, we're going to mix in the OG Marvel universe in with the Ultimate universe.
Yep.
Like, that's expanding.
See, a lot of people that don't read also don't know multiverse theory as well.
Yep.
So they just go like, oh, there's one Spider-Man, there's one, Thor, there's one this, there's one that. Yep. But actually, like, it's quite complex. You know, like, the multiverse stuff, you always have these stories carrying on, and I've done it myself. I've read stuff and gone, oh yeah, this is all good. Why is that still guy still alive?
Sense.
You know, why is this guy still alive? He died.
Yeah.
No, he's back. Yeah. And it's multiverse stuff, and it's
just not, like, some of it's not even, like, it's non-canon.
Because Spider-Geddon, is it Spider-Geddon? No, Spider-Verse. One with the first Gwen Stacy. I can't remember which one it is now, but they all come.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, so you're getting. I think you're getting SPI backslash DER, and you're getting Spider-Man Noir. I can't remember now off the top of my head because I haven't read it for a long time. But you're getting all these, and they make good stories.
Yeah.
But they're crossovers, right? They're multiverse crossovers. Yeah. People, they could get confused easy. Like, it's hard to get into comics sometimes in that respect.
Yeah.
But it makes for more interesting. If someone dies, it's the way to explain how someone dies, and then someone replaces them, right?
Because they come to the multiverse. It's a nice little easy retcon. Yeah.
Because like I have talked about this in the past with people, like Death of Superman. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's this big event. Mm-hmm. Superman's gone. He's dead. He's gone forever. This is an investment. Get this book, black poly bag. You're like, oh, it's badass. I'm not going to even open this.
People still have that.
Dude, like 6 months later, he's alive. You know, like the rebirth type thing. There's a white polybagged version of Superman coming back. You're like, ugh.
That made the news.
And it should. You know what? They should be really, really embarrassed they did that, because a lot of people suck some money. I mean, it's not their fault someone bought 30 copies, right?
No, but like when you go in and buy a book for $10 and on release day it's worth $1.50.
Yeah.
Instant.
Yeah, the back issues are at about 5 million, eh?
And the story wasn't even that good to go with it.
Okay, so let's get back on track a bit with Spidey and symbiotes. So we got a first appearance is ASM 252.
That's it.
And luckily you both got a copy of this, right?
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Indeed.
So you both got that.
We want to be the Symbiote Society.
Yeah. Well, you might have a screenshot. I don't know. But so you've got
newsstands actually.
So then you've got Marvel Team Up 141.
Yep.
Yes.
I don't know enough about that book. Vaughnie's got this book, Marvel Team Up 141.
Sure.
So it's released a week and a half later or something like this in the chronological order of that being released.
Yep.
So 84 May.
So it's tied for the first appearance of the black suit.
So I want to toss something into this as well. So a guy's come up with a design for this, Randy Schuller. He designed the symbiote suit, right?
He did.
Jim Shooter, who's running sort of Marvel things, the operating side of things, has bought this, right? 220.
So he decided to run a competition.
Yeah.
You know, so he actually he ran a competition and said, right, you know, we want to try and, you know, like revamp Spider-Man. So design this costume, blah 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 blah, and send it in to us. So the guy who actually entered the competition and won it.
Randy.
He designed this black costume because he had the vision that, you know, Spider-Man, you know, black because it would be stealth and at night time and rah rah.
Just looks deadly.
It looks deadly, and then had, like you said, you know, the red. The red on the front of it.
No, the one that he designed was white.
Oh, the one he designed was white.
Yeah, the one that he designed was white.
Did Mike Zeck make it red or something?
Mike Zeck, like I've actually got the book coming like next week, Marvel Age 12, where it's actually in there. And you can see there's like red marks on it where they've just tried to, black and white looks cool, but should we try the black and the red? You know? And then that didn't get too much of an uproar. So it had actually appeared in 3 other non-Marvel books before that. Just trying to get some attention from fans and whatnot.
Get reaction.
And that was all black and white. It wasn't until Marvel Age 12, the first Marvel publication of it, where it says, this is what we're thinking about going with.
Concept art of, you know, the Spider-Man suit.
Yep.
And so they purchased it.
They paid like $200 for
200,
it.
220 bucks.
Yeah,
Yes.
$220 US, right?
Yeah.
And so this guy's probably going, oh, that's all good at the time because it's like, well, it's just an idea. It doesn't mean anything's going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I'm pretty stoked, 220, sweet.
Little did he know.
Yeah, and so they're saying, Mike Zeck's saying, or Jim Shooter, not if they're saying, but people are saying that suit doesn't actually look hugely like what Randy come up with. Is that correct?
I think it looks pretty bloody close to be
Pretty
honest.
similar?
Yeah.
Because this is a big debate online that I never knew about, but I had a look at it, I think yesterday in the afternoon. I was like, I'll check this out. And they're saying, no, it's actually considerably different. So it's not. It's very similar.
I think that's what Marvel made it red. To
Oh, is that it?
I think that's what
Yeah.
they used to differ
Yeah.
it from the original and just be like,
Yeah.
what's...
Okay, so to tie back into what we talked
So
about.
it was the Spider-Man suit,
Yeah.
but black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then with the bigger spider symbol on the front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's
Got a
the
stretch
suit.
right around his ribcage and everything.
Yeah,
right?
that was the one that was designed. That was sent in.
Yeah.
I think it was probably easier for artists to draw all black suit as well instead of all that web
course.
work.
Yeah.
When you're drawing a character with all those webs over him, as well as doing
you
spaghetti
gotta shade the
webbing,
hell out of it too, eh? You gotta put shading.
like,
in.
it's a lot of work.
The spaghetti webbing didn't come till 300 though. That was Todd McFarlane's signature.
Todd nailed that, eh? So tying back into this, I was just reading a few other things here, and people wrote in after that 252 came out. People wrote in and they were off their rocker. They're like,
angry.
What are you up to? You've just taken
not
this
Spider-Man.
awesome Spider-Man suit and you ruined it.
Yep.
That's right.
Red and blue.
Yep.
Now we're black and white.
Because
What's up?
nowadays
You know?
we have weekly releases. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I think it was like weekly releases. You know, the Amazing Spider-Man one comes out every 2 weeks, or you know, Venom comes out every month. You know, like back then it used to be like a couple of months between issues coming out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to get from Amazing Spider-Man 1 to Amazing Spider-Man 252,
It's a long time.
how many years were in the span of that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why
36.
36 years. So that's why the
Long
fan
time.
base. That's why the fan base was so
They flipped
up
eh?
and raw. Like when they changed Spider-Man's suit. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell are you guys doing? Because for the last 36 years, you know, they've been following this character, and this is how he's been. But
well, it's tradition, right? And it's something that's set in their mindset is that he'll always be like this. That's Spider-Man. That's the concept. He'll always be like this. So it takes out that worse. Even as that Team Up 141 comes out with Daredevil, he's still in the black suit, and everyone's like, "Are you effing kidding me?" I wrote in and said this stuff was. I don't like it. You do this, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But knowing that Secret War starts in that same month, right?
Yep. No.
Number one.
No.
Secret War's number one's in.
Oh,
in
Secret
May.
War's
one
one.
is-
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
one.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
I clarify. One. They don't know that they're going to get another one in December, right? So they're like, "Oh, hey, look."
But no, they got Spectacular Spider-Man number 90.
The web,
you know,
We got Web of Spider-Man.
Web of Spider-Man, yeah.
Spectacular Spider-Man
Yeah,
90,
yeah.
which is
It's tied with 141.
It's tied with 141 as
Yeah.
second appearance.
They
of
came out the exact same day.
On Spectacular Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man 90, it actually says on their first appearance of the black suit Untitled.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so on a CGC
Yeah.
graded. So it's like
And the funny
they
thing,
brought it out over multiple runs, man.
yeah. And so the funny thing is, though, too, these people like they're already flipping. They get that next one right, and they're like, well, hey, "Come on, man, did not listen." And then, so they got a couple more, but knowing that, actually, I saw the replies they got in December, and I was like, actually, it's all good now because it's
Yeah.
explained.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just took that heat off.
Well, that's it. As soon as they brought the Origin out, which was Secret Wars 8,
Yeah.
you know, which is why a lot of people regard Secret Wars 8 as the first appearance of the black suit.
Because of an explanation of how-
Symbiotes. Well, 252 is the first appearance of the black suit.
To us.
You know, that later
Absolutely.
becomes... That later,
Well, it's a true first.
the alien symbiote that later becomes Venom.
Yeah.
Whereas Secret Wars 8 is the origin of the...
Chronologically, Marvel speaking, in
Yeah.
their timeline,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the first
Yeah,
appearance.
it's the first.
But we didn't get to see it
No,
first.
that's right. But you've got a massive time release between 6 months,
Yeah, 6
before
months
you
in
actually get an
between.
explanation. That to me, I don't know if it's good or bad.
On behalf of Marvel, though, I think it is a good play, especially
So
when
do
you're
I.
releasing Secret Wars
it's a
1.
setup, right?
So do I.
If
I
you want
think-
people
Yeah.
thirsty for a book,
Yeah.
make them thirsty.
I think it's,
Well, you wanna
I think
hold them
it-
on something, you wanna hang them,
exactly.
don't you?
I think it's a
Yeah.
good thing, you know, like Marvel back in the in the earlier days when they released a character and things like that, they'll just be like it'll show up in the issue and it was the first appearance and it was like, here I am, this is my backstory, you know, Spider-Man, I want to fight you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it was just introduced, bam, just like that.
Yep.
Whereas, you know, like with this, you know, like you say, they introduced this costume. No one knew where it came from. 6 months later, they finally explained to everyone. So it kept everyone on the edge of the seat. You know, like sort of like, where is this coming from? Where is this going? What's happening with this?
And at the same time, Amazing Spider-Man 259 comes out, which is after 258, where Reed Richards finds out that it's a symbiote and we got to get that thing off you.
And he figures it, right? He figures out how.
Yep.
And that, to me, is an excellent part of the storyline.
Blast him with the Sonic Blaster.
With the Sonic Blaster.
Well, is it 252 the one where he goes to the bells, the bells and the frequency from it?
Yep. That's how he
They nearly
finds
kills
out.
both of them, right?
Yep.
Nearly kills Peter. Nearly kills the Venom.
No, there's not 252.
Is it 252? I don't know.
When he goes to the bells.
It was 300 when he goes to Eddie Brock.
Oh, is that what? Because Reed finds out. He does it after Reed finds out. He goes to those bells, the resonating bells.
I think he flies straight at some bells in 252.
Oh, does he? Because I'm pretty sure it's in 252, but I don't know. Just check him. So I'll just tell you what I heard. So in 252, he goes to he runs in these bells and they resonate, and the symbiote freaks out. So what he does is he actually, as far as I can tell, he leaves Peter Parker, but he saves him. He actually saves him and takes him lower down the church away from the bell so it's not resonating. But Peter Parker nearly dies as well.
No, it's not 252. It's Web of Spider-Man 1. I'm thinking.
Is it?
Yeah.
So that's how he gets out of. He actually gets out of Peter Parker there, right?
Yep.
But he stays there, and as this is happening, Peter obviously I can't remember what happens to him, but Eddie Brock's setting up this photos he's got for this story, and I don't know if he gets stitched up or not. Does he get stitched up?
Nah, well, he doesn't get stitched up. So
they find out it's not true, right? And they sack him.
Eddie Brock's trying to he's investigating who this mass murderer is and blah 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 blah. You know, and then he gets a lead that it's this other person. You know what I mean? And so he frames this person. Well, not frames him because he believes it to be true.
Yep.
He thinks it's this other guy. It's actually Spider-Man who uncovers who the actual real murderer is, presents that to the media, and then it discredits Eddie Brock's story.
Yeah.
So it discredits Eddie Brock as a reporter.
Yeah.
And then Eddie Brock gets fired from the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, he's like, Spider-Man, you destroyed my career.
Yeah. So this is the part that I liked. Is that he goes to the same place, the same church, right, where the symbiote split from Peter.
Yeah.
But I think he falls on. He puts himself onto Brock, right, and figures that this is a good host.
Yeah.
Right.
Because at the moment he's feeling a little left out too. Because Spider-Man didn't want him.
But also,
so he's rejected.
Yeah, but he also he hates Peter Parker. Same here.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay,
you're my bro. Then.
Yeah. So we're all good. We're going to hang out now.
Yeah.
I don't like Peter. You don't like Peter. I can tell you don't like Peter, so I can sense it.
Yeah.
And that's how. But I don't, what comics that actually in? What comics that actually in where Brock, connects with
when he bonds with
Venom.
Eddie Brock. That's
$2.99.
$2.99. So that's when you said to me that's the first true appearance, right, of Venom?
No, 300 is the first true appearance.
It's the cameo.
Okay,
so
it's a cameo.
Yeah.
299 is the cameo.
Okay, and so that's in the last couple of pages of that book, is it?
So on the back of $2.99, it goes from Mary Jane sitting at home alone.
Yep.
Eddie Brock's looking at all these pages on his wall about how he hates Spider-Man. He's watching Mary Jane. But at this stage, you don't know that Eddie Brock's Venom, and you don't know who his name is.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So Mary Jane's sitting in his house, and she sees the shadow walk through the front door, and she thinks it's Peter Parker.
Because she's known him to have the black uniform.
She's known him to have the black uniform, but as you would know with the black uniform, Peter Parker doesn't have teeth. And then next minute in the next panel, all of a sudden these teeth come out and he says, honey, I'm home. And then she realises that's not Peter Parker. Oh my God. And then all it shows is on the last page of $2.99 is a shot of Venom standing there. But no one knows who this guy is. And then issue 300 comes out. Bam, Venom. And it starts talking about Venom. And then Peter Parker walks through the front door and like, what's happening? Blah blah blah. What's going on? Why are you so afraid?
Why is he still in the black uniform? Because he just made himself a black uniform.
Black Cat made him a uniform, you know.
Oh, okay.
So so he wanted to keep the black uniform thing going on, and then Mary Jane's all upset and crying and things like that, and then that's when Peter Parker's like, Mary Jane's one of the strongest women I know, but she's trembling like a little girl. What kind of monster could do that to her? And then he goes on to I know who it might be, and then all of a sudden he's out there looking
Eddie,
for
the sort of
he knows that someone's got the symbiote, because he recognizes, so he's out there, and so that's the first appearance of Venom is 300, and then there's a battle like the same thing when they're at the bell towers and things like that, and Venom's like, I'm Venom, and that's when he's introduced to the Marvel Universe as I'm Venom. Whereas a first full appearance, and that's why they call it a first full appearance. A first full appearance is you're a main character in that title, in that run, and you
get a full body shot and a name.
You get a full body shot and a name, and you're in more than one panel. Like it's the same thing. It's like the whole going off script here, the whole Gambit thing, like people are Uncanny X-Men, whatever it is, and they think that's the first appearance of Gambit because of whatever, but in one of the annuals, Gambit was in there. He introduces himself as Gambit, he's in 3 or 4 pages introduced as Gambit, but no one will class that as Gambit as the first appearance of
the
Gambit.
biggest one, bro. Hulk 180, Hulk 181. The Wolverine syndrome. It's ridiculous. Like, how was that book worth thousands and thousands of dollars when he's in the book previous?
He's clearly in 180.
Absolutely.
I didn't know this until I'm a bit behind the times, but maybe 6 months ago, and I'm like, that's a pretty clear indication.
That's Wolverine.
Yeah, that's Wolverine.
Right there.
That's Logan right there, right? And you know it. Okay, so we're still talking about Venom, symbiote suit stuff. We've got people who have donned the Venom suit. Or people have done Venom, the symbiote, has taken on them. So I've just got a list. I'm going to read it out, because I don't know. I didn't know who had been taken over by Venom. And you guys can add to this. Okay, so I've got Peter Parker, obviously. We've got Eddie Brock. Matt Garden, Scorpion. Flash Thompson, who is Agent Venom.
Space Knight.
Yep. Lee Price. One of Black Cat's gangs. He was like a special forces guy, like an army ranger or something like this. Tel Kar, who was part of the Kree race when they were fighting the Skrull. He was chosen by the Kree, whether he was a part of their military or whatever, I presume so, to infiltrate the Skrull, because the Skrull were shape changers or something like this, right?
Shapeshifters, yep.
So he's taken on the Venom because the Venom suit would help him shape change.
He can shapeshift as well.
Right, and hide and find out
he went to Lee Price after he came from Flash Thompson.
Okay.
And and with Venom being with Flash Thompson, like Flash Thompson, he came from the army, same sort of similar the military, and he lost the use of both of his legs. So they introduced him to the.
I did see a picture for that.
Yeah, so he lost both of his legs. So they introduced him to the Venom symbiote, which
gave him the use of his legs back.
Okay.
But the thing with Agent Venom and Flash Thompson was that they had realised that if you had exposure to the symbiote for too long, the symbiote would actually try and bond with you permanently. So with Flash Thompson, he would never bond. He would never wear the symbiote longer than 48 hours.
Oh yeah,
for the
separation.
Yeah, the separation to make sure that it didn't bond with him permanently.
Yeah.
And then that went through like Space Knight and all that sort of stuff. And after that,
he was a Guardian of the Galaxy.
He was a Guardian of the Galaxy, and then after that he went to Lee Price, and it was the similar sort of thing. But when he bonded with Lee Price had a lot of anger, so inside of him, and Venom had got used to the fact that he was out there like a Guardian of the Galaxy, doing good for the community, and doing good for society. So he was trying to actually do good, but the urge for Lee Price to do bad things
corrupted him again.
Was corrupted him again,
So Venom's feeding off this anger or this.
Yeah.
He the thing about the Venom symbiote is it sort of just like amplifies what's going on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So whereas Peter's like super nice guy, but he's got a little mean streak to him. You sort of start to see the mean streak in him a lot more. Whereas Venom, when Eddie Brock was mad.
Yeah,
Venom was mad.
Yeah,
they created an Ultra Beast.
So like Venom, he was attached to Flash Thompson and all that, and then went on to the Venom Space Knights and went to do the whole Guardians of the Galaxy thing, and that's when Venom actually attached to Rocket Raccoon, and then Venom attached to Groot and things like that, until Flash Thompson turned back up again, and then joined up with Flash Thompson, and then became Agent Venom.
That's where we started seeing all this Venomized stuff.
Venomized stuff.
Okay. So the other one I've got, which is like it's not real late, but War of the Realms. So we've got Malekith.
Yep.
How does he get hold of Venom? I don't know how he gets hold of him, but I know he gets hold of Venom.
So it's actually one of Malekith's witches.
One of the dark elf.
One of the dark elf witches. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jared. Like she comes down to Earth and rah, and at this point in time, Eddie Brock doesn't actually have the symbiote attached to him.
Mm-hmm.
So this witch approaches him with what they call the Dreamstone. Here's a Dreamstone. It's going to give you whatever powers you can become. Godlike powers. You can become whatever you want. You know what I mean? All you got to do is, fight for us, sort of a thing like that. So Eddie Brock gets this Dreamstone, and because he's so used to being the Venom symbiote, the powers that he gives himself are the powers of Venom. You know what I mean? So he's just a symbiote again, and then he actually turns on the witch. Rips the witch's arms off, you know what I mean, and she actually ends up going back to her sisters, you know what I mean, and made a laughing stock off and blah 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 blah.
Unable to carry her handbag,
and then that's it. So it's not actually Venom in War of the Realms, you know what I mean. It's Eddie Brock with the Dreamstone, but he's given himself the powers of Venom, and then until he realizes that hey, I can sort of become whatever I want, because then the witch actually gives the powers to the Jack-o'-lantern as well, and then Eddie Brock and his new improved Venom symbiote, not actually a symbiote, it's the Dreamstone giving him these powers. They go to war with the Jack-o'-lantern, and because Jack-o'-lantern at that stage, it's not the original Jack-o'-lantern, it's just someone who's found the Jack-o'-lantern costume, put it on and said, hey, I'm the new Jack-o'-lantern.
As we get a bit in the Amazing Spider-Man series.
So he's very inexperienced when it comes to, so Eddie Brock, his Venom actually defeats him quite easily. You know what I mean? There's still a bit of a battle going on, but Eddie Brock defeats him quite easily, and then Eddie actually changes his armor once he realizes that he can sort of become whatever he wants, and then turns into this like a rock covered sort of not like an anti-venom, but it's like the white suit sort of a thing it just covered in, and he looks like a Viking with the helmet on and all that sort of stuff. So that's the War of the Realms story, and then it's not till you get back into the Donny Cates Absolute Carnage series, because Eddie Brock doesn't have the symbiote attached to him anymore, and then he's in the Absolute Carnage series, and he's standing there in front of a train, and it's like Cletus Cassidy pushes him out in front of the train, and then the train's coming towards him and Dylan, and then all of a sudden, because the Venom symbiote's always been with Eddie Brock, but just sort of stayed quiet, next minute Venom jumps out and just goes, boom, I got you, Eddie. And then Eddie's like, whoa, you've been there this whole time, but I haven't been able to sense you. So it was really cool how they did that. But War of the Realms, not written by Donny Cates, it's Cullen Bunn, and it's still a really cool story though.
But a good time, right?
It is a good time,
You don't often get that with the tie-ins too. A lot of characters' arcs seem to stop and not continue on, but I feel like during that, even though it wasn't like Absolute Carnage or whatever with the massive tie-in, they still knew that this was going to be important, so let's add that in.
Absolutely. So because the other part I read about it is that Malekith, he comes up with not the all black blade like Null, but he makes the dark blade. Creates the dark elf spiders and these other things with what he gets from Venom, right? The symbiote. And all those sorts of things. I haven't read all of War of the Realms, but an excellent concept as far as I'm concerned. It's a good tie, and all these parts are a good garnish for that storyline. And like you say, the arcs don't always interlock, right? They don't always cross each other. So it's quite cool. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, and you'll know more than I do, I've only read a bit, but it's pretty epic stuff, is the creation of the symbiotes, right? With Null, and we did talk a bit before the podcast, but I was blown away with Null being in the void, which is space, but with nothing in it. It's void.
It's the
and
space,
it's essence, right?
It's a space in between. Space.
It's awesome how Donny Cates has created. We all thought this was the origin. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, they're like, no, this is really the origin. And it sort of goes back to like we were talking about. It was based at the origin of Eddie Brock. The reason we thought that the symbiote went to Eddie Brock is because when at the bell tower is because we thought that it hated Spider-Man and it sensed this hatred towards Spider-Man for Eddie Brock. But then when you get to the Anti-Venom story, you know what I mean, it actually it actually switches it around and actually says, well, no, the real reason that the symbiote went to Eddie Brock is because Eddie Brock had cancer, you know, and he was cured of cancer. And then
when he wore Venom, when he had the symbiote on.
A doctor actually cured him of cancer, you know. So but the reason that the symbiote went to Venom is because it could sense that, you know, that he had cancer and that he could help cure him and all that sort of stuff like that. So it was like many years later that they actually changed from the reason that the Venom symbiote went to Eddie Brock was because he hated Spider-Man, when really it was because Eddie had cancer and the symbiote could sense that.
And a lot of readers, like, you know, if you're following the mythology of all this sort of thing, it is massive. It's almost like finding out that you were adopted.
Yeah.
At birth, you know, you thought you knew all this,
for these
and then it's all been flipped on its head, and it's like, holy shit, that's not even my real parents. Like, that's kind of how I sort of felt when I read this. I was just like, how is this possible? But it is, and it's better. Like, it's, retcons, man. Retcons are looked on these days as like,
this all cheesed
that's
out
an
again.
easy way out, you know,
Yeah.
plot hole central. But when you can actually change it up and add to it and make it how certain writers do,
Yeah.
no, I got big love and big credit for those guys, man, because it's not easy to do.
So the most insane thing I had with this, right, is that the first time, I mean, I knew about the Celestials and Eternals and stuff like this, but the first time I saw the Celestials was, don't know if it was Guardians of the Galaxy, something like this, right? Where the good dude's smashing his staff down on the planet, it's killing off all the life forms on the planet, it kills the planet.
Yep.
So knowing that Null is in his void, he loves this place, it's his comfort zone, right? He loves this place, it's all good, it's perfect, it's exactly how he wants it. He wants to be like, that's how he wants it.
The way that Donny Cates read it is,
he can see spawns out.
Null was the beginning of everything. You know, he was around before the beginning.
Very ancient, super ancient.
Like up there with like the one above all.
Well, that's right. You know, when the universe was nothing but darkness, you know, that was Null. And he was out there and he was ruling it. And then anytime anyone tried to introduce light, that was Null out there. You know, squash it. You know, kill it. You know, like Null was. There's a bigger part to play, and we're only going to find out more about him. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's sort of just learning about Null now. You know, they've read the origin of Null, Venom Volume 4, number 4.
Number 4.
The origin, you know, the first appearance, number 3, you know, and then we've got Null, God is coming through the whole Absolute Carnage series. So, you know, like, there's all this stipulation around Null, but everyone's still only just learning about him, and everything Donny Cates is writing is just amazing. So
and how good is that? You got Celestials I've only ever seen in a movie. I know of them, but I've only seen a movie. All of a sudden, they're coming into his space, and they're all. I think they're all powerful, right? They're like, we want to bring light to that. We want to bring light to here. We want to bring light to here. We want to put planets. We want this. We want to fill this void. We don't want it to be like this.
Has anyone seen the Guardians of the Galaxy movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
At the start of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and then it actually shows this thing, and it's like a prison at the start of it, and then it says Clintar, and then the prison's at the start of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, way before anyone even knew about all this Null crap.
I didn't know. I was absolutely oblivious to that.
And then
there's one person I think did know, and I think that's Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige is not only the overseer of Marvel Studios, but he also oversees Marvel as a whole now.
Yeah.
And he knows that if he can drop something in a movie...
So like that, Easter eggs, you know?
Absolutely.
Easter eggs. So it says Clintar, and it looks like a prison, and all that sort of stuff, and a cage. And then all of a sudden, behind that prison, you see these 3 lights, where it's actually, people are saying, well, those are the 3 eyes. That's the head of the Celestial that Null cut off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is back in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
So nowhere.
It's nowhere. That's
nowhere.
The Collector lives there, right? And he wants the not Soul Stone. What is it?
He wants all
Reality Stone? No.
The stone they bring him when you remember at the beginning, and it's the best soundtrack of any movie ever. Is Guardians of the Galaxy, man? Honestly, yeah, he's cruising, bro. He's got the headphone, the flicking Walkman on, Sony Walkman.
All that old school.
He gets in there and he pinches that stone, and he's like, "Yep." And then
the Power Stone.
Yeah, so Gamora knows where to get
the Reality Stone.
Yeah.
The Power Stone is the one. But Reality is Thor.
The Power Stone's the purple one.
Yeah.
But in this. So get back to Guardians of the Galaxy number 1. Gamora tries to pinch it from him, right?
Yep.
Because Ronan wants the stone. Ronan the Accuser wants the stone.
Yep.
But they wrangle it, and they're all going to go 5 ways, but whatever they're doing, and they go to the Collector and nowhere, which is that Celestial's head. Yep. So that's where he creates his forge and makes the all black sword.
That could be. We're looking at two different
Because
canons.
it's very similar. It's
Who
got the
knows?
size and stuff, right?
You know, like who knows?
It definitely could be. The way that Marvel Studios are playing things out now, it looks like they're heading for sort of a, the legacy characters. They look like they're going to introduce Miss Marvel, America Chavez, Miles Morales at some sort of point. So the fact that they don't bring in stuff from the comics that have been planted recently, I think they tend to play a bigger part in the movies in the future.
Yeah. So back to that origin. So you've got that he kills. I think he hunts and kills the rest of the Celestials. Is this correct? I'm not sure, but
no.
Yeah, but then he goes, right, well, this war is finished now. I'll get rid of these symbiotes that I've created for my weapons, my armor and stuff.
Yep.
They create Clintar to. No, we don't want to be killed. He tries to kill him, but they don't. They cage him,
turn
right?
on him.
They cage him.
So it's not a planet, like you said, it's a prison, right?
It's the cage that he's in is a prison.
Yeah.
The planet itself is the
actually a prison.
symbiote population.
It's a cell.
That's wrapped around him.
Yep.
So it's the population of 1 billion. Like you imagine if what's the Chinese emperor's name? Chang'u, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
So if all of a sudden his whole country turned against him, and then those 1 billion Chinamen
We're sitting on him.
And
jumped on top of him and sat on him. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's what Planet Clintar is.
But you've got to think about it too. That one of those population is as strong as Venom.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 1 billion Venoms using all their power to hold that guy.
But that's right. Like Venom was like the runt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the weakest
He's
symbiote
like the
going.
weakest
Because he
symbiote
admits it's the
going.
dwarf, right? He admits it's the
in the
Eddie.
movie, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm a loser like
Yeah.
you, but whatever.
Yeah.
But like that's the reason that he let Peter Parker take him, and bring him back to Earth because he didn't want to be the loser where he was.
Yeah.
He wanted to be something bigger. He wanted to be the right. You know what I mean? Like the right,
The phage.
that led the symbiotes to glory and victory through battle. He wanted to be right, so he let Peter Parker. He bonded with Peter Parker in Secret Wars 8, and came back to Earth and things like that. And then now
maybe I can make a difference.
Now he's a big thing. You know what I mean? Like he is the man. But
So we'll shorten that up. So they encapture Null. They keep him in there. And we'll talk about how he gets out because I don't know.
so what they call it now is they don't call it. They call it the hive. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
It's a hive mind.
Okay.
It's a hive mind.
It's all run by Null.
But so these symbiotes after that, did they take over other planets before they get to Earth, right? Before Venom gets to Earth, they actually take over other planets, right? Is that correct?
Several.
Because they make the Four Sisters on the one particular planet before Venom gets to Earth.
Yep.
So, an excellent origin story, as far as I'm concerned. So the first time I've even learned is this week, right?
Yeah.
I'm not up to it, but it's the first time I see it is this week. We have that. The other thing, so Null's origin story, how new is this? Has this been created?
Venom 3. So
2000
so pretty-
Origin 2018 Venom 4.
we're looking back. It's 27 this month. So we're 24 issues. So exactly.
So I'm
2
not that
years.
far behind. So when I've read this now, then I've loosely read what's been created this year.
Yo, you can get through
Yeah,
an
yeah.
issue in
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
So,
So 22 pages and
20 times. Yeah.
But so much detail on that.
It's crazy.
Like a massive amount of history from the beginning of time to
Between Venom
252 basically.
3, 4, and 5, you'll learn. That's shit ton.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered that. It's an excellent origin story. I've only just learned about it, but I really loved it. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is every other symbiote. Okay.
So when you're looking at symbiotes, though, you can't go past Carnage.
No, originals, right? So you're talking Venom. So
Yep.
Carnage is
The Offspring?
a daughter of Venom.
Yep.
The son, the offspring.
It's a daughter though, eh? Carnage is a daughter.
Scream bonded with a Donna Diego, I think
Yeah.
it was. So she became the first female symbiote. Carnage was Cletus Cassidy, which was a male.
Yeah, but the symbiote's actually a
The
daughter. Is actually a girl.
symbiote is a girl.
Yeah, even though it inhabits Cletus, and Cletus is the.
So
he's not a mass murderer, but he when he was a kid in a home, he killed a guy and then burned the home down.
Yeah, burned the home down to cover it up.
Yeah, to cover his tracks, right? So Carnage takes over Cletus Cassidy. We also have Phage, which is the first son. We've got Wright, that's the second son. Lasher, that's his third son.
They're all Life Foundation symbiotes.
Agony.
Yep. So then we go Agony, and Scream, which is a daughter, which you said before.
So those 5.
Then we get Hybrid.
Yep.
So Hybrid's
A mix of those.
Yeah, so it's Riot, Agony, Lasher, and Phage.
Phage.
Yep.
Yep. They're
So
all Life Foundation.
I don't know how this happened. How did this actually happen, though?
So, like you say, after Carnage, you know, like all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
The Life Foundation, they capture Venom, you know, and then they try and extract
5 seeds.
5 seeds off him, you know, which are the five symbiotes that come, and then they introduce them to Life Foundation members to.
They want to make super cops.
They want to make super cops out of these guys.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so Venom Lethal Protectors number 4, you have the first appearance of Scream. And then Venom Lethal Protectors number 5, you have the first appearance of Lasher, Phage, Agony, Riot, you know, and the rest of them. And then in amongst the battle where Spider-Man and Venom, they team up again, you know, like, and they're trying to take them all out and get rid of them all.
They both, even when they first have their first encounter with Carnage, though, they struggle to beat Carnage. They don't beat Carnage.
Carnage is different.
The thing about symbiotes
because he can actually. Sorry, Jared, I'm just going to interject here. Venom can't. He uses his eyes to see, right?
Yep.
Carnage doesn't need his eyes to
Carnage
see.
doesn't need his eyes
he
to
knows
see.
he can sense anything.
And not only
he's
that,
got an amplified
but
spider sense.
And parts of his body can leave and they become physical.
Yeah, they become physical
you
objects
can
that
throw
leave his body.
things from
So,
the symbiote.
like with Spider-Man, he learns that when he's fighting Carnage, and then he throws webbing at his eyes to try and cover his eyes up.
Yeah. It
doesn't
And then,
stop him.
and then Carnage is like, I don't need my eyes to see. You know what I mean? And Carnage can, because he's an offspring of the Venom symbiote, and because, you know, Peter Parker carried the Venom symbiote, Peter Parker can't actually sense them with the spider sense.
Yeah.
So Carnage can appear from anywhere at any time without Peter Parker knowing where he is, because the spider sense isn't working. Carnage doesn't even need to be able to see him physically with his eyes, because he can see in a 360 degree rotational view without even actually seeing Spider-Man. Turn up from anywhere and then just, you know, like throw these projectiles at him, you know, like.
The way I imagine that Carnage sees is like Daredevil, a world on fire.
Yeah, you just have a sense, right?
Yeah.
Innate sense.
Yeah, he just sees and feels everything around him without actually having a seal feel.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Carnage too. Being an offspring of Venom, they only get stronger the further the bloodline goes.
Yeah.
So Carnage is going to be stronger than Venom.
Yeah.
Whoever Carnage sprouts is going to be stronger than him, and stronger than him, and stronger than him.
So also in this fact though, he can only. I thought the symbiotes can only have one offspring per lifetime. That's not true. Obviously, that's not true, because there's heaps of offspring. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
But they were actually the Life
7,
Foundation were actually withdrawn from them. They were taken forcefully from him.
Oh, he wasn't like, because they're asexual, right? They just produce their own young.
Yeah. No,
so they were actually drawn.
They were stripped from him.
Oh, okay.
They were stripped.
That explains a lot, because I'm thinking of the thing I read. Wikipedia, which you can't always rely on, but it's like, yeah, they have one offspring per lifetime, which is because they're asexual, they don't need a partner, boom, but they're drawn out. That's what I wanted to know. I was like, oh, that doesn't quite make sense to me. I'm like, you know, okay.
And then you go into their hybrid, and hybrid is actually like a hybrid of all of them. They all join together to make, like, you know, it's like Power Rangers, a Megazord.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Who wants to mess with the Megazord?
That's right. So, I want to get back to one other thing. We know that Venom with Eddie Brock, he's not bad in the fact that he doesn't want to hurt innocent people, right? But they do have a joint hatred for Peter Parker.
Yeah. And Venom, and they got no problem killing anybody either.
Yeah. But they're nowhere near the scale of Carnage, right?
Nah.
Carnage has no empathy.
He is a bloodthirsty maniac.
No black and white.
No moral compass. You know,
that's
like,
right.
With Carnage, it's like, you know, like.
He's the Joker in my eyes
Unpredictable.
of the Marvel universe.
That has been explained in a lot of areas. You know, like with when I think it was David Michelini, you know, like when he was writing the Venom, and and then they come up with this concept like, hey, we want to introduce a new symbiote, you know, like, and then I want to introduce this new symbiote and get away from Venom, you know, and, you know, I want it to be Carnage, and so David Michelini actually wanted to kill off Venom.
This is a cool story.
And which which, you know, like Marvel were like, nah, that can't happen, and they try to write it in where when they introduced the characters, I think they introduced them earlier, but they had sticks and stones.
Yeah.
You know, and Sticks is one of those characters where when he touched you.
I don't know who you're talking about now. Yeah.
So when he touched you, like he would absorb your powers and stuff like that, and essentially, you know, like kill you.
Yeah.
You know, so they had this battle between Venom and Sticks and Stones, and David Michelino was writing this, and then like Marvel were like, you can do whatever you want with Venom, but you can't kill him. You know what I mean? And then he was like, well, sweet as then, you know what I mean? I'll create another symbiote, you know, named Carnage, who's not only more powerful than Venom, but he's, you know, like he doesn't have a moral compass. He's just bloodlust. You know, he just sort of wants to go out there and kill everyone. So, and that's why they brought Carnage in. And yeah, like with the whole Carnage thing, like when they were deciding, like they can't just say, right, let's duplicate Eddie Brock, or let's duplicate Venom.
Let's make another black suit.
Let's make another Venom. They had to go, right, we have to make him like something totally different that's just going to capture, you know, scary.
And Red does that. It's alarming.
It is alarming. So the symbiote bonds with the host, but Carnage bonded with Cletus Cassidy through his bloodstream. You know what I mean? Which was a whole different process to what
it wasn't just covering him like a suit, right?
Yeah, covering him like a suit. It was actually bonded with him through his bloodstream, which was just a whole different process. And because Carnage was born here on Earth, you know what I mean? Like, he's been spawned. Yeah, he's been spawned on Earth when he's breaking Eddie Brock out of the prison. Yeah, and he's spawned here on Earth. It means it gives him powers different to Venom.
Yeah, absolutely different.
And then they went on to so what color are we going to do Carnage? Blah blah blah. We can't just make him black like Venom and blah. And at that stage in time in the world, they were going through the whole like
the 90s,
the AIDS epidemic. You know what I mean? So blood to everyone was scary. You know what I mean? Like it was when people thought of blood, they thought of infection,
HIV,
they thought of disease, AIDS. You know, like death and things like that.
It was massive then. It swept the globe like coronavirus.
So they went sweet as we're going to make Carnage red like blood, and every time Carnage kills someone, we're going to make him right on the walls. Carnage rules with his own blood.
Yeah, I didn't know this, but that's interesting.
You know, which was like the hype around Carnage. It was this brand new character, and that was David Michelino was like, right, if I can't kill Venom, I'm gonna make this other symbiote.
I'm going to make him kill everybody else.
I'm going to make him kill everybody else, and just like make him like nowadays.
So violent.
When you think of Spider,
you can't kill Venom. Make Carnage so violent.
He has scythes for hands.
You think of Carnage, you think of Spider-Man, you think of Venom, you think of Carnage. You know what I mean? They're household names. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just how it was. And then it wasn't until the end of Amazing Spider-Man run, and then like that's sort of like because you know Carnage was the like. Kill people, get captured, go to prison, escape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That
he became the Joker.
You know, that was just that was just it. You know, and
so we've talked about Venom and Carnage there, and they're different. The way they are different. How's Scream different from those two? I've never read Scream. I've got the comics, a set to sell, but I've never read it. So Scream. How's Scream different to Carnage and Venom?
So Scream's only ever really showed up in Lethal Protectors, and she's got her own run going on at the moment, which I think they're at number 5 of the Scream run. And also she was brought in at in through the Absolute Carnage series. So that was Donna Diego, wasn't it? Donna Diego, who was a Life Foundation member, bonded with the Scream symbiote. She was killed off.
Has she got a moral compass? Has Scream got a moral compass?
Yeah, she ends up having a moral compass.
Oh, she's more like Venom now.
Yeah. So through the whole Absolute Carnage series and blah 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 blah, all that sort of stuff, like Scream actually, you know, like she's bonding to a dead host now because she's bonded back with Donna Diego.
She came and dug her up.
And bonded with her.
And bonded with the dead body.
So is she going to heal her, or is she just still dead?
Dead, trying to find another host. So she found another host.
But she carries it to be alive.
So she carries it to be alive. It's the same thing that happened in Absolute Carnage. So in Web of Venom Cult of Carnage, there's a cult that try and bring, you know, like they bring Cletus Cassidy back to life, so that the Carnage symbiote can bond with him. But Cletus Cassidy is actually dead. You know what I mean? So Carnage is sick of carrying around this dead weight, you know, this dead host, because you're stronger with a live host. You know what I mean? So he's sick around, and then that's when he goes to the prison and forms with Norman Osborn.
Who thinks
he's Cletus Cassidy. So because
So that Red Goblin, is it?
No, after Red Goblin.
Oh, okay.
So after Red Goblin, that's when Norman Osborn has the Carnage symbiote. Has the Carnage symbiote, becomes the Red Goblin. After that, blah, 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 he's defeated. The Carnage symbiote's taken off him. Cletus Cassidy's dead.
Yeah.
They resurrect Cletus Cassidy for the Carnage symbiote to bond back to Cletus Cassidy.
Yeah.
Cletus Cassidy is dead. Carnage has got his dead symbiote, so he's not actually as powerful as he should be. So then he goes to the prison, rocks into the prison. Norman Osborn's in there, bang, fuses with Norman Osborn. Then all of a sudden, because Carnage, the birth of Carnage was Cletus Cassidy, so Carnage has all these memories of Cletus Cassidy and who Cletus Cassidy was. Somehow that's attached to Norman Osborn, like through his brain and his connections. And
it's
now,
because Carnage bonded at the bloodstream level.
With Cletus Cassidy. So now Norman Osborn is actually with the symbiote, with the Carnage symbiote attached to him, not as the Red Goblin, but as Carnage. Norman Osborn says, I'm Cletus Cassidy. I've got all of Cletus Cassidy's memories.
From his DNA or whatever.
I've got everything. And then like guys are looking at him going like, bro, you're Norman Osborn. He's like, I'm not Norman Osborn. I'm Cletus Cassidy. I remember when I burnt down that.
Call me Cletus.
I remember when I killed that person and I burnt down that house and rah. So it's actually really weird the level that actually happened. But the same thing happens with Scream. Scream bonds with a new host, and she actually
wipes him out.
She actually turns against Carnage at that time of absolute carnage, and actually sitting there going, right, we need to warn people about this, because if Carnage actually summons and gets all these codexes from everybody's spines, you know.
Sorry, what's these codexes? I need to know that because I don't know what the codexes
so
are. So
every person that's ever had a symbiote attached to them, when the symbiote leaves them, a part of the symbiote DNA stays with the host.
A tiny little piece of
themselves. Yeah, it's always a tiny piece of themselves.
Even Peter Parker?
Even Peter Parker. Which is what they call the codex, and it's attached. It's attached to their spine, like
it's in their spinal cord.
Like DNA.
It's a microchip or something.
When Absolute Carnage comes in, what he's trying to do is to release Null from the prison. He needs the codexes of everyone who's ever carried a symbiote to be able to.
He goes after everyone,
so that he can communicate back with the Hive, which is Planet Clintar, which is the symbiote population. wrapped around Null. So he's digging up everyone's graves. He's going killing everyone. He's ripping out the spines of all these people to get all these the codexes from them.
And there's a lot of heroes that have held these
codexes.
If you want to scrap with some of these guys,
there's Hulk, there's
Alex Ross,
Captain Marvel, there's Captain America. There's so many.
Wolverine.
There might be a small amount of
time. Punisher, you know,
but
you name it.
Even when I read Venomverse, with the poisons. And those poisons that are converted from the Venoms, and they are superheroes, right? They're essentially they're Wolverine, they're Captain America, they're all these people. And so when you talk about that, getting the codexes, there's a lot of characters in the Marvel universe.
It's pretty much the whole Marvel universe.
Just about everybody.
That's why everyone was intrigued with Absolute Carnage, because it's like
he's coming for everybody.
He's coming for everybody. So Carnage was coming for everybody, and he was ripping the spines out of them and just mass murdering them. And the funny thing was
to get the codex, right?
To get the codex, but then it was funny because in the story they did a tie-in which was Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool, and because at one stage Deadpool was hybrid, so he had 5 symbiotes attached to him at the one time. So Carnage is sitting there going, "That's right, Deadpool used to be hybrid. He's like, my language, the fucking unicorn. He's like the unicorn of hosts, you know what I mean? So Deadpool's having this whole big blah 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 thing, and that's actually a really funny story to read, the Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool run, because he's like the unicorn rainbow, and unicorns and Deadpool, they sort of go together.
They go together.
Unicorns, rainbows, and Deadpool.
But that's how it is, and then you get through that whole story, I love that run because you see the first time Alex Ross,
the artist.
No. The Red Hulk. Who's the Red Hulk? Betty's dad, whatever his name is.
Anyway, Ross.
Yeah. Anyway, General Ross. So one time the Red Hulk walks through the door. You know what I mean? And
Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah. The Red Hulk comes through the door, to try and attack Eddie Brock, and so the symbiote jumps off Eddie Brock onto the Red Hulk to try and stop the Red Hulk from being able to attack Eddie Brock. So symbiote's never been attached to the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
You know, like
just that version.
Just the Red Hulk version, which isn't Bruce Banner.
But the Red Hulk is fire.
Yeah.
The angrier he gets, he heats up. What a symbiote's not like.
Which was really cool because in Absolute Carnage, like they had Absolute Carnage Immortal Hulk, which was the first time
he bonded
with with the Hulk, and in that story it was really funny because Eddie Brock was sitting there with the Venom symbiote, and then he was scared and blah blah blah, and Venom was actually telling Eddie Brock, look, you need to either step up and do something about this, or I'm going to find someone stronger than you who will. And then Eddie Brock's like, nah, and then so Venom just sits there and goes, all right then, jumps off Eddie Brock, jumps onto Bruce Banner, and then boom, next minute Bruce Banner turns into like Venom Hulk, and he's like, we are Venom Hulk, which is mean. And then you've got Venom Hulk versus Carnage, you know, which is just massive.
which he needed though, because from what I read, you know, like if Spider-Man and Venom are struggling with Carnage, you like you say, you go from Eddie to Hulk, you've got this new advantage, right?
Absolutely.
You know, you've got not indestructible Hulk, but you got a pretty
you got the strongest symbiote that there is.
At that point, he is the Immortal Hulk, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
He is the Immortal Hulk now. He's been the Immortal Hulk for a while.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that is bloody interesting, and it's like, because I didn't know anything about hybrid, right? So I'm like, and all the codex, right?
He's all of them. Hybrid is all of them.
Hybrid is Phage, Agony, right? Like when they try to kill them all off, they thought that they killed them all, but they didn't. And then that's when Phage, Agony, Riot, Lasher, they all sort of bonded together to survive, and then they found a host and became Hybrid.
Yeah. So Hybrid is, again, for your 90s kids, the Megazord of symbiotes.
Absolutely. And then so we've got Sleeper, which was a son of Venom, but I hadn't heard before. That's a new one for me.
It's pretty cool.
Toxin I'd heard of. I thought it was a direct son of
Carnage.
Of Venom. But grandson. So son of Carnage, right?
Yeah, son of Carnage.
And granddaughter Scorn. And then you got Mania, which is a clone.
Andy Benton. Yeah. Andy Benton, which is which was a clone who held the Venom symbiote. Yeah.
Yeah. So Carnage Venom hybrid. So a piece of both of them. The OGs,
manufactured symbiote.
Yeah, so the OGs, right? And then we got Anti-Venom. I forgot to mention Anti-Venom at the beginning. I skipped it, sorry. But then Anti-Venom 2. By the way, there's a lot of dead ones. Phage is dead, Riot's dead, Lasher's dead, Agony's dead, Scream's dead. Well, I didn't know that because there's a new series, right?
Yeah. But who's
her host was dead.
Her host was dead.
So Hybrid dead, Sleeper alive, Toxin the grandson dead, Scorn the granddaughter's dead, Mania the clone, which was a hybrid, is also dead. Anti-Venom 2 dead, Legion the clone still alive.
But that's what
the host is dead.
That's what we're led to believe. You know what I mean? Just because the host dies, everyone thinks that the symbiote is dead. That's what I've learned
through Absolute Carnage. You don't need to have that original host to be able to go through with your plan.
So the symbiote itself's not. It's the host that dies, right? It's not necessarily the symbiote.
Yeah.
That can
pretty hard to kill a symbiote.
People think that the symbiote dies, but then again, you know, like it keeps getting written into stories that somehow that symbiote has survived and then bond with someone else.
Right from the beginning, 252, right? You've got it wasn't 252. When it hits the bells, right, and they separate. Venom separates from Peter Parker.
Yep.
He survives. That's the first time you see it. He survives, right? So you already know that a symbiote can survive away from his host.
Some noise has pissed him off, and he's just buggered off for a minute.
So the vibration, the frequency, whatever, and the dude from Fantastic Four, what's his name? Reed Richards figures that out.
Yep.
This is how you do it. This is a living symbiote on you. You need to get rid of him. This is how you do it. Frequency, blah, blah, blah.
Just lets out a squeal. It jumps off him.
Yeah. And so you already know that it can survive away from its host.
Yeah.
Okay. So which is another cool thing about it. It means that you can have it. It can go away, and at any time you could kind of rewrite it into a story, right? If you're a writer, you're like, man, I'm going to take this.
I think they're one of the coolest tools for a writer to be able to use.
Yeah, it's brilliant. The immortality of things, like even Immortal Hulk, which I've read through to number 12, is like an excellent story because he gets shot in the head and Bruce Banner gets shot in the head or whatever happens. He comes back the next day. He's reborn, right, and he gets revenge, and it's pretty rad. But the next thing I want to talk about, and I don't know how it relates. But what's Ravencroft?
Ravencroft,
the Institute for the Insane.
Yeah, so
who's kept there? Why is this relevant to the symbiotes?
So what is it?
J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, J. Jonah Jameson. So like during Absolute Carnage, Carnage breaks into the Institute for the Criminally Insane, which is Ravencroft, because Carnage has actually been after the whole Amazing Spider-Man versus Venom run. You know what I mean? Like where where Carnage is introduced, and then Venom and Spider-Man have to team up to kill Carnage, because Venom's always got this thing like, I want to be the one to kill Peter Parker, to kill Spider-Man. So if you want to kill Spider-Man, I'm going to help Spider-Man kill you, and then
so that I can take that trophy
for
myself.
So that I can be the one to kill him. So after this whole Carnage thing in the Amazing Spider-Man series, Carnage is actually Carnage is like Peter Parker and Spider-Man and Venom are actually attacking Carnage, and then Spider-Man finds this control board and things like that, and starts playing this music and stuff like that. Whereas, as we know, Eddie Brock has dealt with the high-pitched sounds and frequencies before.
He has a contingency,
but Carnage hasn't. You know what I mean? Like this is his first time Carnage hearing that. So Spider-Man is actually like turning the volume up and creating these loud noises, and then Eddie Brock and Carnage start both going nuts. You know what I mean? Like the symbiotes are trying to.
So it still affects Carnage the same as Venom.
Yeah, it still affects Carnage the same as Venom. So they're trying to detach themselves, and then Spider-Man's actually like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Eddie, rah 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 rah." You know, like
I really don't want to take you out.
I don't really want to take you out.
Dude who wants to kill, had to try to kill him in the past.
But that's the thing. Eddie Brock and Venom have actually dealt with this before, so they're sort of kind of used to it. So Eddie Brock's sitting there and he's going, "No, keep going. You know, like keep going. Like
you're not going to kill me.
You're not going to kill me. Keep going." And then all of a sudden, you know, like Carnage is laying on the floor, and it seems like the symbiote sort of detached himself from him. And who at that stage they thought that the symbiote had died. You know, but really he hadn't. So, and then they put Cletus Cassidy in Ravencroft, the Institute for the Criminally Insane, and then that becomes his home. So that's where it comes into. So when
Tales of Ravencroft.
So when Absolute Carnage comes out, and then all of a sudden now Carnage needs a whole bunch of followers to help track down all these people that have had the Codex on them.
The Cult of Carnage is born.
The Cult of Carnage, and he goes to Ravencroft. Infects everybody, and they all in essential become his doppelgangers. You know, and then they're out there running around trying to find everyone.
The codexes, right?
They're out there trying to find the codexes. So after Absolute Carnage, when it all comes to a closure, when that arc comes to a closure, now all it's about is them trying to like put all these prisoners back into, you know, Ravencroft.
Get them back to Ravencroft.
Get them back to Ravencroft, and there's a bit of a history behind it. So you've got the 3 Ravencroft one-shots, you've got Ravencroft Dracula, you've got Ravencroft Carnage, you've got Ravencroft Sabretooth, and then you've got the 5-part series of Ravencroft, the Institute for the Criminally Insane, which I think we're up to number 4. So number 5 should be coming out, and that should be closing out soon. So that's the sort of like
premise of
the what's it called, the prelogue, or you know, to Absolute Carnage.
So going back to the movies, we'll talk about it in a minute, but do you think Venom 2 will have anything with Ravencroft, or Venom 1 from a Venom perspective, like a Venom fan perspective, cool movie, because you got to see Venom. You got to see Venom fighting people and biting people.
That's not Venom.
But like all superhero movies, they had some concepts that were good, right?
They had some concepts that were good, but like the way that the story lined up, like to me, it was just like, really, you know, like dude, at that stage, you know, like Venom and Anne, they weren't together. You know what I mean? When
it all literally comes down
when that
to
first came about.
Now that ship split at the beginning, right? She was like, I think they were engaged, right? Doesn't she give them the ring back or something?
They're engaged.
But in the actual book, they're just boyfriend girlfriend or something, aren't they?
There's bigger tales to tell about that movie, and it all comes back to Sony versus Marvel.
The actual book, I don't actually think that I've read that in Amazing Spider-Man 300. When Venom, or 298 or 298 when he first attaches himself to Eddie Brock, because 298 is Eddie Brock's first appearance. So 299 he attaches himself to Eddie Brock, you know, via coming off the bells and finding him down there. 300 we have Venom. Anne's not in there. You know what I mean? Like, but at the start of Venom the movie, he's got this fiance, which is Anne. You know, and then all of a sudden, then he gets introduced to the Venom symbiote, which is it's. Yeah, Sony have a way of doing that, of making it like not how it is.
The way I see it is, if it's not MCU, it's not canon. because there's so much back thought gone into all that sort of stuff. The groundwork laid a decade before it even comes to fruition, and Sony just wanted to jump on that bandwagon and be like, we own Spider-Man. You were dumb enough to sell us the rights back in the 90s when you were just about bankrupt. So we've made a few average Spider-Man movies.
We're going to take 30 years of Venom history and cram it all into one movie. You know what I mean? Like, and then we're going to.
We're not even going to give him the spider symbol. We're just going to make him this big black hulkling thing with some white veins in him and stuff. You know what I mean? And that's fair enough.
So that original movie though, that first symbiote that appears, that's not actually Venom though, is it?
That's right.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah. So like you say, when you're trying to cram all of this history of Venom into the movie,
and that's what Marvel Studios does so well.
Yeah,
they see an arc, they see a movie that you usually knock out in 2.5 hours, and they spread it out over 3 to 4 movies. In that, they give you backstory, they give you time to fall in love with the character, they give you reasons why you should side with this character. Whereas, you know, as you've seen in Fox movies, like the Dark Phoenix saga has been done twice in one movie. Twice.
It's horrid,
That thing is an end game build up in my eyes. It takes a decade to build up to that. You can't just throw it into 2 hours and just be like, here's the Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. So that what you're saying too is like we talked about before, right? You've got Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got Avengers movies, you've got Thor Ragnarok, all these ones that all have an appearance of an Infinity Stone.
Yes.
They go into the Infinity War, or I can't remember what it's called. They call it Infinity War,
Avengers
and then they have and then they have Endgame. They tie in good, right? They're not exactly. They're not canon to the books, but it's an adaptation to the movie. It's still watchable. You can watch all those and know, oh, these actually tie in.
If you've read the Infinity Gauntlet, you'll know watching that thing on big screen would seem a little ridiculous. The way they've done it is pretty awesome. And you can sell it.
So the thing for me, right, is that with X-Men, I know we're getting off subject again, like usual, right? But I know with X-Men, right. The Phoenix Saga is a big thing, like Infinity Gauntlet or Infinity War or Infinity Crusade. It needs to be led into. It needs to be. And X-Men movies, in my opinion, never been very good. They've never been very good. I love. What's it called? I don't call it Old Man Logan. What's it called?
Logan.
It's called Logan.
It's called Logan.
That's an excellent movie.
And you could almost sell that as a...
That's a good standalone.
As a standalone.
Yeah, right?
It's like Joker.
But when you're doing that Phoenix Saga, you need to have lead-ins from X-Men and make it tie in properly, so you
do have to make it
tie in. Jean Grey, right? You need to have the tie in, because she's ultimately super powerful.
You want to be able to fall in love with Jean and feel her pain she's going through, this change and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, here's Sophie Turner, known to us from Game of Thrones... Yeah. 2 movies in, she's gonna take a dark turn, and then we're gonna end the whole saga.
Well, that's right. That's back to the fuck up of like how they did Venom with Sony, because like at the start of it, they've introduced the Life Foundation symbiotes. You see Scream there in her yellow and red, and you see Riot there and Lasher and Agony, but they don't have names.
Too soon.
You know, like, way too soon, because all those 5 symbiotes actually came after Carnage. You know what I mean? So they've introduced the Life Foundation symbiotes at the start of the movie, and then they've introduced the Venom symbiote attaching to Eddie Brock, so it's back to front, and then at the very end of it, they're going to introduce Carnage.
It's all for lack of Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man is where it started, and Spider-Man is now lent over to the MCU.
Explain to me then, why did Spider-Man not turn up in the Venom movie though? Because I expected him. I didn't watch his shorts, but I expected him to turn up when I seen it, because Sony
and Marvel had a deal that right, the next whatever Spider-Man movies are going to be 3 independent Spider-Man movies.
He should have shown up in Homecoming, right? Venom would have been good time
exactly,
to show
but like they made a deal. Venom. Next 3 independent Spider-Man movies are going to be created by Marvel, with 2 appearances in the Avengers, or 3 appearances in Avengers, or whatever it is like that. So Sony and Venom being an independent Sony movie, they couldn't bring Spider-Man in there, because at that time Spider-Man, like, the rights were still sitting with Marvel, because
it's owned by Sony, but you're going to confuse people when you take someone out, Tom Holland, straight out of a movie involving Black Panther and Captain America, and then throw him straight into San Francisco, in a darker movie run by Amy Pascal with different dialogue. It's confusing.
So it did. It pissed me off. You know, like they should have had it there. You know, like even if they didn't have it from Peter Parker, you know, like in the Venom movie, they should have had it. Bang! They should have had Venom, and then they should have had Carnage, and then they should have had the Life Foundation symbiotes. But they've done it all back to front.
But here's the thing: the movies I find are taking little bits of different arcs, different universes, multiverse thing coming in again, and I feel that Spider-Man and Venom will clash, but not the way that we've always seen, not the way that we expected. We've seen Topher Grace, you know.
Oh, so you think you're going to see them together in a movie?
We're absolutely going to see them in the
Venom
movie.
and Spider-Man.
I can see Spider-Man in a cutscene in Venom 2. Like we've already seen...
Well, we did see Spider-Man and Venom in a movie, and it was an absolute disgrace. Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Topher Grace, that 70s show. Wipe that from the mind, people.
Yep.
Like, but we're going into now this, and we've got Venom, one movie.
Yep.
Morbius should have been released by now. 2 days ago, we have confirmation of a director eyed for a Kraven the Hunter movie. So the way I see it is Marvel have a plan of 3 movies for Peter Parker as a kid, 3 movies for Peter Parker going through college, and then a trilogy as an adult Peter Parker. So we've got plenty of time to build on Peter Parker. We literally have 80 years worth of history of Peter Parker.
There's a solid.
I don't want to see all that thrown into 3 movies.
No.
I want to see it.
No justice, right?
Absolutely. Like I want to see it build and build and build. So in the meantime, we've got Spider-Man hanging out with the Avengers and all that sort of stuff in the MCU. But in the background, we have Morbius, we have Venom, we have Let There Be Carnage, we have Kraven now. They're building a Sinister Six.
And now
once they release up the Sinister Six one at a time, I feel like they're going to build them up like that and then put them together. And then we're going to see them all versus Spider-Man and probably his middle, because that was his middle movie when he's at college. That's what I love about Marvel. They let it build. You don't throw shit in just willy nilly. You've got to, if you want it to pay off, you've got to put in the time. You've got to put in the hard work, and you've got to build those character stories and arcs.
And I think they want to see what Donny Cates is doing with the Venom run as well before they start throwing him into the movies. You know what I mean?
Because he is now a part of the Marvel universe.
The big part of the Marvel universe. You know, like.
And give an origin story for Null.
In a big way, in a big way, Venom has saved the Spider-Man franchise. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like
well, you know, from Nick Spencer and Ryan Otley's run, the art's all good and stuff, but Nick Spencer's been pretty boring. He's not doing a hell of a lot with the character. To be able to see, you know, both sides of the coin, you've got this, and it's just like, oh, whatever, and then you flip it to Venom, and it's like, what happened? Venom was the secondary character. Now Venom is taking over and Spider-Man's chilling in the background. We're lucky we have Tom Holland in the movies because the comics aren't doing a lot for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get on to probably the last subject we're going to talk about. Is there anything you guys are looking forward to? I mean, you've got these series of comics coming out with Donny Cates. I mean, I'm really looking forward to Thor because that's my thing, right? With Donny Cates.
And he's just started on Thor.
Yeah. So it's still early days. He's 27 now on Venom.
Yep, Venom 27. Yep.
But you've loved everything so far in this series, right?
Oh, mate, I love it. I love it with a passion. Like I get excited.
So you're looking forward to each issue coming out. You're not bored by nothing on this.
Not bored by nothing.
No.
You know, like I'm sitting there, and then we get a lot of you know, like previews and insights into the future. You know, like the next big thing is this whole King in Black thing that's coming out in December. You know what I mean? Like, and everyone's just like, whoa, what is this?
We just had Absolute Carnage when he was going after all these characters, and now we're already getting tales that we're getting a Symbiote Spider-Man standalone tie-in to King in Black. That's cool for me because I'm a Black Suit collector. Like I've got fresh books to go after. But like seeing how a character from 35 years ago will tie into a current story, that has me hanging. I need to read that.
Do you know the other cool thing about it though? If you're like you're saying, there's new stuff you can get into collecting.
Yeah.
At least when you're buying it from back issues, you're going to get a standard price. You're like chasing something, you go, I need 600 to get this. You know what I mean? That's a cool thing about collecting. When something ties back into something you love, you can get it at the proper, you know, at a decent price.
There's so many big things happening, like in Venom 25, like or the Venom Island, which was 21 to 25, that whole saga, we see Dylan Brock, who was introduced in Venom 7, you know, and then we find out that...
And that's Eddie's son, right?
And then we find out that it's Eddie Brock's son, you know. At first it was believed that it was his brother.
Yeah.
So, you know, first cameo of Dylan Brock was Venom Number 7, and then first appearance of Dylan Brock was Venom 9. And then now we're just realising that Dylan Brock actually has all these powers that even Eddie and Venom don't understand. There's a part of Absolute Carnage where...
So why's he got powers? From Venom being the symbiote on Eddie?
So, no, because Anne, Venom's ex-wife, or Eddie Brock's ex-wife, she had a symbiote attached to her. Oh. And because every time a symbiote attaches to someone, it leaves a part of themselves there. Yeah. And then Venom, Eddie Brock, he had a symbiote. Yeah. They gave birth to a son. So
he residually got some...
This son...
He got the double one.
Down.
This son is actually born without ever having a symbiote attached to him, but having a symbiote in his DNA already from birth. You know, which makes him something brand new. You know, like he's born with the symbiote codex DNA attached to him already. And you find out in Absolute Carnage when him and Norman Osborn's grandson are sitting in a cell, and Carnage is trying to break in, and then all of a sudden the sleeper symbiote's there as well. And so Dylan Brock is sitting there, and then the sleeping symbiote's like, right, I'll help you, I'll protect you. Bang, jumps on Dylan Brock to fuse with him, to protect him. And then in an instant just goes, holy hell, what the hell is this? And then jumps straight back off.
I don't want a bar of this.
I don't want a bar of that. You know what I mean?
It's a different DNA.
Because he realizes that, like, whoa, you are something different. You're on par with Null. You know, sort of a thing like that. Like,
we're not told that, but we're led to believe that it's like, you know, like, holy shit,
you're something different completely at all.
So when you're reading this series too, you're like, this is something I have to keep reading this.
I have to
sub this stuff.
Issue by issue, they're just planting seeds.
In the Venom run, that was a big thing that were like, whoa, you're going to have to keep carrying on to find out what happens with Dylan Brock. And then Eddie Brock goes to Venom Island, you know, and then when he gets over there, he realises Carnage is still there, and then Carnage has a battle with Eddie Brock, and then the Venom symbiote detaches itself from Eddie Brock, and then Carnage symbiote takes over Eddie Brock. So now Eddie Brock is Carnage, not Venom, and the Venom symbiote is slinking around in the bushes, and then Dylan Brock is on Earth, we know, like millions of like hundreds of thousands of kilometers away somewhere, and he's sitting there and he's talking with Sleeper, and he's like, I can sense something, I can feel it, something's wrong with my dad. And that shows what power Dylan Brock has, you know, like he can sense this from all this
like
time.
A symbiote,
like a symbiote.
Like no, he can tell what's happening to his children.
I can sense it. And that's the thing. Like Dylan Brock, Null visits him in his dreams. You know what I mean? And he communicates with Null in his dreams, and he has these dreams.
The good son, Web of Venom, the good son.
Web of Venom, the good son.
Oh, there's a picture of young Peter Parker or something, is it?
No, that's Dylan Brock in bed, and Null's like hanging over the headboard.
But in the Web of Venom, the good son, it's got Dylan Brock standing there, and then Normie Osborn standing there. You know, which is the Red Goblin child, and then Venom's child. So, but in Web of Venom, I mean, in Venom Island and onto Venom number 25 before it goes into 26,
Venom Beyond.
Venom Beyond. In issue 25, Dylan Brock's like, I can sense something's wrong with my dad, something's going on. So, don't know, somehow like it creates a portal, and then he walks into this portal, and then all of a sudden he's in nowhere. Dylan Brock is in nowhere, and then all of a sudden the Venom symbiote slinking through the forest and the bush, and he's figuring like, what the hell's going on? Carnage has taken over Eddie Brock, and then he hears this voice, and it's Dylan, and then Dylan goes, where's my dad? And then the symbiote's like, whoa,
how can you communicate with me?
Communicate with me? Only Null has that power. And he's like, that doesn't matter, where's my dad?
As a kid is, you know, like, that's why it's so cool.
We need to help my dad, where's my dad? And then he's like, right, I'm gonna attempt to bond with you. And then he's like, you can't. And he's like, don't you worry about that. I
got you, boys.
I can pretty much do whatever I want. And then Venom's like, what the hell? So instead of him being like a slinking ooze on the ground, now he actually takes the form as Venom again. And but Dylan Brock actually isn't there. He's just controlling him with his mind. So he's in the form there of Venom, and then Venom's like, you know what? Since your physical host isn't actually here, and I'm not attached to your physical host, we can become whatever the hell we want to be. And then Dylan's like, good to know. And then all of a sudden, bang, Dylan Brock turns the Venom Symbiote into a massive Venom T-Rex, and he's just standing there over top of Carnage, and then has this massive battle with Carnage, and it's just like, it's dope as shit, man. Like when I seen it in the comic books, I was just like, holy hell.
Oh yeah, that's him. Yeah, that's him.
You know, like he's sitting there and he's like, well, what's going on? And there's Eddie Brock, and then he's just like,
oh yeah, he's huge.
You know, like, I'm a Venom T-Rex now. Come on, Carnage, let's have it. You know, and then
you wouldn't have turned yourself into something with a longer arms.
You wouldn't have thought it. And then,
kind of mean tail, but
and then Carnage and Dylan Brock as a T-Rex go on to battle it on, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's in his mind and blah blah blah. And then Eddie Brock gets trapped in this cage, and they're sitting there, and it's like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then Eddie Brock's talking to Dylan and just saying, you know, like, give into your power, whatever it takes. And then Carnage is, Cletus Cassidy's standing there also, which is just the memory of Cletus Cassidy. It's not actually Cletus Cassidy.
He's dead, right?
Yeah, which he's dead. And then Cletus Cassidy pushes Dylan, which Dylan actually falls out of the portal. You know, and then, Carnage and Eddie Brock are just having this
epic battle.
Epic battle, and Carnage is actually starting to defeat the Venom Symbiote.
All over Stickman pencils.
Carnage is actually trying to take over Dylan Brock and bond with Dylan Brock. But then Dylan Brock actually has the power, like he's that powerful that he actually, in Earth, he actually sits there and rips the Carnage symbiote off him. Yeah. You know, throws him away.
Which wouldn't be possible to anyone else so far.
Which wouldn't be possible to anybody else. Just boom, rips him off and throws him away, and then next minute there's this big bang, and then back on Venom Island, it's like Eddie Brock's not even there. Dylan Brock's still on, you know, wherever he is in Manhattan or wherever he is, and Eddie Brock's on the island, then he's just like, holy shit, you know, and that's the first time Eddie Brock actually realises, whoa, you know, like, my son's got these massive powers.
You know, which is, he's not the same.
He's
even though he's spawned from me, he's not the same.
He's not the same. He's something totally different altogether.
So if you're a hardcore Venom head, hardcore Carnage follower, or Symbiote Spider-Man, there's a lot of things coming out right now, right, that you can jump onto.
And I'm so stoked too. Like, you know, that being a title from 252 to roughly 259 and everything after that's a material black suit. It was a very short-lived era in Marvel Comics, but I'm glad that they're revisiting it now and we're getting new tales.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, so we'll wrap it up. We've had an excellent chat about this. I've learned actually insanely large amounts of information that it's very hard to process, honestly. So thank you, Symbiote Society New Zealand, Jared and Jaden, for coming along, man, and doing a podcast with me. I really enjoyed it. It's been awesome. And I've only known you dudes for like such a little amount of time, right? And it's been so good so far. And I hope everyone else enjoyed listening to it. So signing off from me, Bram, Jaden.
Yeah, man. You know, like, thanks to Bram for Whitianga Comics. You know, amazing opportunity to come and do a podcast with you guys. Just remember, you know, like, if you want to know what the Symbiote Society is up to, join our Facebook page, the Symbiote Society
Absolutely.
NZ. We're a bigger part of the New Zealand comics and collectibles community. So, you know, come jump on and just chat with us about anything that you want to know. So, yeah.
And also, Jared, thanks for coming along, bro.
Thank you, bro. Kia ora koutou katoa. And it's been, again, awesome, man. Like, it's always good talking business with brothers like yourself. So
awesome. Thank you very much, guys. And we'll be doing episode 4 in another 7 days or so. So keep listening. Thank you very much.